welcome to Wednesday, Hump Day, middle of the weekday, and thanks for joining us for Student of the Gun. We have a suspicion that since you guys are getting this early in the morning, that a lot of you are listening to us on your morning commute, and you're welcome. You're welcome. Aren't they welcome, Jared?
They are welcome. We've actually had a lot of people email and say thank you for the new format, and they really like the morning release.
So we do what we can.
You're welcome, and thank you for listening.
And you know actually who really needs to be thanked, but there's really no way to thank him? Zachary.
Oh yeah.
See, Jared's is the man behind the curtain, but we have another man behind the curtain, and that is Zachary. Because what we'd have to do here is obviously we produce the radio material, but then it has to go up on an RSS feed, and then it has to be embedded, and then it has to be coagulated, and then it has to be transmogrified, and all that stuff. And so
that's real technical terms.
So when
there.
we've got,
in case you guys weren't aware that he's actually got a doctorate in information technology. Yeah, so he was using all those high tech terms he learned in school.
Anyway, Zach is the one behind all. He takes what we give him, and he puts it up. He makes it go where it needs to go, so that you, whether you're listening to us on iTunes or Pod Gallery or
Stitcher, Podcast Republic,
Student
of the Gun app.
The Student of the Gun app, is that free, Jared, or do they have to pay for that?
It's free for them.
Is it free for them because of our thanks to our friends at
Century Arms?
Century Arms, yeah, Century Arms. Century Arms, obviously, if you're a dedicated student of the gun, you know this. We've been using a lot of their hardware for a long time. I've been using their stuff for years and years and years. It used to be that everything from Century was war surplus, 10, 20 years ago. Maybe even farther away than that, 30 years ago. If you knew Century, you knew them because they imported war surplus guns, old Enfields and Nagant rifles and SKSs and all that jazz. But you didn't know them as a company that made new guns or newly manufactured guns. And so if you haven't checked them out lately, you might want to do that. Go to centuryarms.com, check those guys out, because they have a lot of new manufactured guns, brand new guns. They have their made in the USA AKs. They have a made in the USA RPK. As a matter of fact, they have the made in the USA AK in both a stamped receiver and a milled receiver version. So whichever one floats your boat. And then, of course, they've got the TP9 SA. Hey, Jared, when do you want to release that, the SA homeroom? You want to release it next week?
I'll do it sometime soon.
He'll do it sometime.
It's just look forward to it. It'll be there. Yeah.
When the mood strikes.
Whenever I feel like it.
See how he is over there.
Yeah. So what I want you guys to do is, hold on, and I'll tell you. I accidentally closed out the tab.
Uh-oh. Computer technology.
Yeah. So go to centuryarms.com, and I want you to write them an email and thank them for making the app available to you and making what we do possible.
That is true. That's a good point.
If you don't want to email them, then call 800-800-527-1252 and let them know that Student of the Gun is a righteous radio show.
Well, we do that for our other sponsors. We've had you thank Velocity Triggers and Exosites and so forth. But the truth of the matter is, and Jared pointed it out, and I'm glad he did. We didn't even plan this. We're just being spontaneous here. But the reason that we were able to develop the app and develop a version 2.0 of the app, believe it or not, these things don't just happen by themselves. They're human beings behind the scenes that are putting in code and making adjustments and changing stuff and what have you. And the reason we were able to make the Student of the Gun app available free to you is because of the sponsorship of Century Arms. So if you like the app, if you appreciate the app, and you're a gun guy or a gun girl, it wouldn't hurt for you to tell Century Arms, hey, thanks for sponsoring the Student of the Gun app. They've got a Facebook page, and you can leave comments on a Facebook page.
They have an Instagram, too.
They have an Instagram, too. So, yeah, that's something you might want to do. If you don't want to do it, fine. It's your life. Live it like you want. But speaking of living your life like you want, Jared is going to go ahead and give us our weekly fitness moment brought to you by SWAT Fuel, because we're going to do that on Wednesdays. You guys haven't picked up on that by now. Wednesdays, we're going to do the SWAT Fuel fitness moment, or the fighting fitness moment. Jared, go ahead and lay some knowledge on them there, hippie.
Goals. I talked about this a little bit in the last episode, and I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't actually ready. I wasn't following along with the show notes close enough because I wasn't ready for this, but I'll go into detail a little bit more about goals. Goals are important to have, and if you don't know why, I will tell you. When you write down a goal, when you set a goal for yourself, you set a date for that goal to happen. I'm trying to figure out how to explain this. It basically it's a mental note that you're making to yourself. If you write it down on paper, it's a commitment that you're making, and you feel that when you make a commitment that you have to do that. You have to reach the commitment. Yeah, you have to honor the commitment. You have to reach your goal in order to make yourself or not let yourself down. It's human psychology. You don't like to let yourself down. You don't like to let other people down. So when you physically write down your goal and set a goal date, it makes it easier for you to achieve your goal. So what I want you to do is pick a goal. I recommend picking one major goal that is like a yearly goal, and then picking 3 small goals that help you reach that one major goal. But even if you only set one goal for yourself and write it down on a piece of paper or on a calendar or in your phone, somewhere that you'll view it every day, and then achieve that goal. And if you want to, go to Student of the Gun Facebook or somewhere, Student of the Gun social media, and let us know what that goal is.
Well, folks, when it comes to goal setting, it's not people are like, oh, well, I'm exactly as fit as I possibly want to be. Well, rock on. I'm glad that you are. But goal setting is not just for fitness. It's for life. It's for success. It's for achievement. I'll share something a little bit personal with you folks. When I was in the Marine Corps, I still have a friend. His name's Dick Brown. But my friend Dick, he was a winner, and he would remind me. He'd say, Paul, you are a winner, and you're a winner if you want to be a winner. You're a winner if you seek to achieve. You need to look at yourself and say, I am a winner. And one of the things that Dick reminded me that I needed to do was write goals. And he goes, what are your goals? What are your deployment goals? Like, we'd go out. I was on the USS Forrestal, as some of you may know, as a member of the Marine Detachment. We would go out to sea for months at a time, and we would go on 6-month deployments and so forth. And one of the things that we would set very deliberately was deployment goals. Say, okay, we're going out for 6 months. What am I going to do during the deployment? A lot of guys took college classes. A lot of guys set fitness goals. They set lifting goals. They set goals on what they were going to accomplish and so forth, whether or not they were going to improve their pros and cons, they were going to get promoted, what have you. And so I had a 3-ring binder, or not 3-ring binder, one of those spiral notebooks deals, and I wrote my goals in it. I wrote immediate goals, I wrote 5-year goals, and I wrote 10-year goals. I wrote them all down. I thought about them very deliberately. But the truth is, I moved on with my life, and I just kind of did what I wanted to do. And it actually wasn't until I got married and we moved the first time, my wife and I moved the first time, and I was emptying a box, and I found some of my old Marine Corps stuff. Do you know about this, Jared? You may just be learning about it for the first time.
No, you told me.
Oh, I did? Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so I found some of my old Marine Corps stuff, and I was looking through it, and I thought, old Lang Syne. And I pulled out that spiral notebook, and I opened it, and I was flipping through it, looking at things that I had written years and years before, and I found my goals. And it turned out that I think it was about 5 5-year goals and 5 10-year goals I had written, and that I had achieved all but one of those goals. And I kind of was like, wow. It was a moment of epiphany. It was like, I wasn't going about thinking, okay, today I need to achieve my goal. I have to do this, do this, do this, do this. But I set up a roadmap for myself. And even though I was just there subconsciously, I had done it. I had written it down. And that's what you should be doing. Whatever you're doing in your life, whether it's fitness goals, whether it's training goals, whether it's career goals, sit down, be honest with yourself. Say, what do I want to be doing in 5 years? Bruce Lee was really big at goals. If you guys know, if you've ever read The Life of Bruce Lee or anything like that, one of the things he wrote was by the time he was age 30 that he would be in possession of $1 million US, and he set about just achieving his goals. It's too bad that he didn't set one of his goals to live to be age 50 or 60, and we lost him way too soon. But the thing about, and since I'm mentioning Bruce Lee right now, most of you probably know who Bruce Lee is. Even if you're a kid, Jared, you know who Bruce Lee is.
Yeah, I know who Bruce Lee is.
He's been dead for 40 years, but you know who he is. So think of the impact that he had in the 33 short years of his life, that 40 years after his death, he's been dead now longer than he was alive, and you know who he was, and you know pretty much what he was about. Think about that. That's a pretty big deal.
And while we're on the subject, it's kind of a topical thing because right now everybody is setting resolutions, New Year's resolutions. And me personally, I'm going to tell you how I feel about New Year's resolutions. I don't, I'm not saying that they're a bad thing, but I don't consider making New Year's resolutions something that I would want to do, because what is a resolution? A resolution is a solution to a problem. And if you rely every year on making a resolution, you're relying on yourself to have problems every year. You're relying on problems to be present in your life. So why not set goals instead of resolutions?
Well, and why do you have to wait? Now, we're just doing this coincidentally. It's kind of, we're not doing this specifically because it's the new year.
No, it just happened.
It just happened.
Yeah.
It just happened to fall during that time frame. So you don't have to wait until January to set goals. You can set goals anytime, and you should. You should set big goals. You should set weekly goals, monthly goals, yearly goals, 5-year goals, and so forth. And you'll find that if you do that and you're honest with yourself and you're determined, that you'll end up, without even thinking about it, without even being deliberate about it, achieving those goals. So that we're not going to carry that any farther than it is right now. But folks, thank you for being a student of the gun. Thank you for being out there listening to us. And we hope that we can provide you with that little bit of extra motivation, because nobody should have to do it alone. Nobody should have to be in this alone. Everybody needs some support, some affirmation.
And that's kind of another thing. I know he said we weren't going to go any farther, but one more point is setting the goals, writing the goals down, telling other people about the goals. It helps you motivate yourself. That's motivation for yourself, because now other people know what your goal is. And if you don't reach it, you're letting them down. As well.
It's just like working out in the gym, man. You need a spotter. You always work better with a spotter, right?
If they're motivated like you are, yes.
If you work harder with a spotter. All right, let's talk about gun stuff and owning guns and using guns. And one thing that one continuing theme of Student of the Gun is that we believe that every citizen, every responsible adult, should be prepared to protect themselves and their families. That's very, very basic. That goes back to caveman times. This isn't something new, some kind of an outlandish thing that Paul just came up with. You think people should defend themselves against attacks and threats and, whoa, you're a crazy person. No, we think that pretty much everyone should, and we find it sad that there are adults in the world that don't believe that their own safety is their responsibility. And as you know, through the Go Team moments, we often applaud people who have taken the steps to be responsible for their own safety. And we point that out to you here. But what we've got is we have a situation with this next story where that happened, but the ending wasn't what you anticipated it would be. And it comes to us from our neighbors to the north, from the Great White North. Yes, that is our Canadian update theme. Thank you, Geddy Lee, for taking off to the Great White North. And the story comes to us from Ammoland.com, but it was sourced by Ammoland from the Canadian Shooting Sports Association. And the title of the story is this. It says, 68-year-old home invasion victim charged with crime for defending himself. I'm sorry, what was that again? A 68-year-old home invasion victim charged with a crime for defending himself. Well, let's dig a little bit deeper into this. Come on, Paul, that can't be right. He must have done something bad. Dateline Canada. That's all it says is Dateline Canada. The story was reported on what day? January 8th, 2015, so it's not that old. It wasn't enough that a 68-year-old New Brunswick man was attacked after 3 people broke into his home. He also had to suffer the humiliation of being arrested and charged criminally for daring to defend himself against those 3 armed home invaders. Michael Woodard committed the cardinal sin in Canada. He took direct action that threatened the lives of criminals, apparently a protected class of persons in Canada. Sure, the St. Stephen RCMP pressed charges against Woodard's home invaders, but surprisingly, it is only the underage home invader who is charged with a violent crime. The 2 adult home invaders are charged only with robbery, presumably because as adults they might actually go to prison for assault with a weapon, whereas the cherished young offender would only get a slap on the wrist before he heads home for dinner. Mr. Woodard now faces charges for, quote, discharging a firearm in a reckless manner and, quote, discharging a firearm with intent, presumably with intent to harm. This shows the shoddy reporting in this case. The complete lack of reporting done by the alleged CBC News staff is appalling. They couldn't be bothered to do their jobs, choosing instead to do the slightest of rewrites of the RCMP's press release and calling it a day. The documents are practically identical. Canada's laws on defense of persons and defense of property, Criminal Code 634 and Criminal Code 35, were revised in 2012 to make self-defense easier to access in cases where, precisely like Michael Woodard's. All right, so it says, so why was he charged with 2 crimes? The RCMP, that's Royal Canadian Mounted Police, apparently they took a break from testing airsoft guns and evaluating whether or not an airsoft gun can be considered a firearm and arresting kids with airsoft guns. The RCMP appears to take a charge everyone and let the courts sort it out approach. But this only victimizes Michael Woodard a second time. Now he must suffer a financially crippling court process on top of the home invasion he just survived. Whew. Wow. So here we go. The following statements are true. This is a long article, and we'll put the thing in the report in there for you guys to look up. If you go to studentofthegun.com,
studentofthegunradio.com.
Studentofthegunradio.com, you can access the show notes and the complete story. But essentially, it says the 60-year-old Woodard faced 3 home invaders, age 17, 19, and 19. All right. It says that the physical age discrepancies between the victim and the perpetrators is enormous. Well, obviously, hey, smart, wise, intelligent students of the gun, what do we call it when the attacker has a greater than normal advantage over the victim? Jared, what is that called?
Disparity of force?
Disparity. And the disparity in this case would be twofold because, A, you have young teenagers, 17 and 19, attacking a 68-year-old man. So the disparity of force in age, in youth and age, is to the attackers. And also the number. We have 3 people attacking a single person. Now, were this case not in the glorious People's Republic of Canada, were it in, say, a free republic such as Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, Louisiana, you name it, do you think this story would be up right now? Well, no, according to the laws in the United States of America and legal precedent, if a person is attacked by, in a situation like this, where there's a greater than normal disparity of force on the part of the attackers, then that person may legally use a greater than normal amount of force to defend themselves. So even if these 3 turds that broke into this guy's house and were in the process of committing a felony, even if they weren't younger, even if they weren't armed per se, they still presented a what? a deadly force threat to this guy. Now, here's the deal. This is where Michael screwed up, I think. He used his firearm to defend his home. However, no, I'm not going to say that. What do we have? We have a firearm used, a handgun used to defend a house. And we have 3 living perpetrators, only one of which is actually going to be charged with a violent crime. The other are only going to be charged with simple theft offenses. Wow.
Sounds like California.
Woo! Yeah, no kidding. It sounds kind of like California. It's kind of like the CA in the CA. Did I just blow your mind right there?
Yeah, my mind is blown.
Wow. Now, why do we bring this up? You're like, Paul, I'm not listening to you in Canada. I'm listening to you in the United States of America. Ergo, I don't care.
They should already know the answer to this question, but answer it anyway.
Just in case you're new to the show, just in case this is the first time, why should you listen to this and why should you care about what happens in Canada? Well, because all of your we know better than you statists, your Michael Bloombergs and your Shannon the sandwich makers and so forth, when it comes time to try and convince you that you have too much freedom and too much liberty and they need to take some of it away, what do? Well, they point to places like England and India and Australia and Canada and say, look at how reasonable their laws are. And if we were only more like Canada, well, America would be a wonderful place to live in. So let me ask you this, and you can ask your Aunt Tilly or your coworker Bob or your neighbor Sally, who just doesn't think people should have guns. Ask them, do you think we should be more like Canada? Do you think if a 68-year-old man is at home and 3 violent criminals break into his home and attack him, do you think he should just suck it up and take the beating, or do you think he should be allowed to use a gun to stop them? What do you think, Sally? Well, maybe he should just talk to them. Maybe he should dialogue with them. Maybe he should do like Senator King says, and we need to stop treating them like a military. We need to find out why. Maybe we should delve into the why. Why are you breaking into my home? Why are you beating me? In the previous story we talked about yesterday, about the guy who answered the front door and a guy just punched him in his face and attacked him right there in his doorway. Maybe he should have asked him why. What do you think, Jared? Do you think there are some socioeconomic reasons for this? That maybe we could delve into the socioeconomic reasons behind this violent crime? And
well, it's obviously not because of health care. Because
they got the greatest health care on planet Earth, we've been told.
And it's obviously not because of them not. Well, what am I trying to say here? It's not because that they
don't they redistribute
yeah, that's what
the
I'm trying
wealth
to say.
up there?
They redistribute wealth.
They have that socialism
it's
up there.
fair up there. So it can't be because it's not fair.
I thought everyone was just skipping around drinking unicorn milk in Canada. If you listen to the hippie liberal statist progressive puke faces in America, Canada, there's like rainbows and unicorns can run free and everyone gets all the unicorn milk they can drink. I mean, all you need is socialized medicine and redistribution of wealth and strict gun control, and you'll have no crime. You'll have no terrorism. Everything will be wonderful. Right? I mean, that's what I was told. And you see stories, maybe this story is a lie. Maybe it's propaganda. Maybe it's CIA propaganda. Did you see that? That somebody's already jumped on and said that the terrorist attack in Paris was a hoax, that it was a CIA staged hoax to make Islam look bad?
Oh.
How do you walk and breathe at the same time and be that stupid? But I digress. So next time your coworker Sally, who just doesn't like guns, or your Uncle Phil or what have you, next time they get on that thing about, we need to be more like Canada. We just need to be reasonable and have reasonable laws like Canada has. Maybe you should ask them, if you defended yourself, would you want the RCMP to arrest you and charge you with a crime the crime of defending yourself. And you're like, but Paul, it already happens. That's right. You can live in the glorious People's Republic of New York, defend your home against an armed robber, and get arrested.
Or
isn't that wonderful?
Or simply possess the bullet, not the whole case.
Oh, Washington, D.C.
bullet.
You could possess something that could be used to make ammunition and be a convicted firearms violator. Is that what he is? He's a firearms violator or a weapon violator? Oh. I don't. Hey. We don't know about his personal business.
I guess reasonable is a relative term.
Yeah, it's a relative term. Well, keeping in the same geographic area as the Great White North, let's go ahead and move up to the state of Michigan. Now, Michigan's one of those states where it kind of varies. I mean, you have Detroit, and then you have Flint, and you have all these bastions of socialized unionism, right? These Democrat strongholds. But then you have the Upper Peninsula and northern Michigan, and which is really pretty down-to-earth conservative, but then you have that cancer of Wayne County that swings the state, towards the big D. But they swung the state back, and the state is in the process of swinging back, because what do we know about the chief of police in Detroit? It's Chief Craig, isn't it? Chief Craig's not having any more of that garbage, and he's told the people of Detroit, you need to buy guns, you need to arm yourselves, and if someone breaks into your house, you need to shoot them. End of story. Thus endeth today's lesson. Well, we got this story here from, again, ammoland.com, and it says, Dateline, Fairfax, Virginia. This is from the National Rifle Association, ILA. That's the Institute for Legislative Action. And the headline of the story is, Michigan, urge Governor Snyder to sign SB, that'd be Senate Bill 789, into law. And you're like, well, what is this 789 all about? It says over the next, and this, let me see the date line on this story real quick. It's actually the 9th of January, so again, it's pretty recent. It says over the next week, Governor Rick Snyder, Republican, has the opportunity to sign a bill that will benefit law-abiding gun owners across Michigan. Senate Bill 789, which passed the legislature by significant margins, seeks to create a more efficient and uniform concealed carry pistol licensing process for all Michiganders. The NRA, along with other pro-Second Amendment organizations and numerous law enforcement groups, support SB 789. Now, what is this all about? It says last year, SB 789 proceeded through the legislative process without serious opposition. The bill was posted for public consumption. Hearings were held to allow the public testimony. Stakeholder concerns were voiced and their opinions were addressed. Now, only after the bill has passed the legislature is it sitting on the governor's desk. Groups that were given groups that were given nearly a year to publicly voice their concerns are attacking the legislator. Where have we heard that before? Maybe. Jared, what happened in a little state called Mississippi?
A lot of things have happened.
Yeah, when the state legislature and the governor unanimously amended the law to remove the bad verbiage, the confusing verbiage. Nobody had a problem with it when it was going through the House, going through the Senate, and then all of a sudden it's going to become law. And actually it had been signed and was going to become the law, and people started freaking.
It was going to be like the Wild Wild West, they said.
Have you heard about all the street corner shootings and the murders and people killing each other at traffic lights and shooting each other over parking spaces in Mississippi since they amended the law to make it an open carry state?
I haven't.
That's maybe because it hasn't happened. That could be. Oh, but it says this week, numerous media outlets, the media and other organizations have attacked SB 786 based on a mistaken belief that the bill requires that concealed carry permit licenses be issued to persons subject to personal protection orders for domestic violence or stalking.
It's SB 789, by the way.
789, I'm sorry. 789. Am I saying 797?
786.
786. Wow.
You said it the one time. I didn't catch it any other time, so I don't know what you've been saying.
789, just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
6, 7, 8, 9.
789. Okay.
I ate the sandbox.
So let's dive into this. First of all, if moms for reasonable sandwich making and the ones who need more bedroom action, if they don't like a bill, what do I basically know? That it's probably good for us. That's good for the good people. And let me see if CNNBC and MSNBC and Communist News Network and all, if they don't like a bill, what is that? It's kind of like know who your friends are, know who your enemies are. If they don't like it, what do you think?
It's like, why was 6 afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9,
Yeah, that just happened, folks, and I do apologize for that. But
you're welcome.
If you are currently a Michigander and you are listening to the sound of my voice, the NRA ILA is encouraging you to contact the governor's office and show your support. Now, we don't know, and they actually gave the phone number here for the governor's office. It's 517-373-3400.
I'll include that in the show notes on studentofthegunradio.com. It's kind of cool when you put a phone number in, it automatically links it because most people have Skype apparently. Or if you use Google Chrome, it'll automatically call when you click the phone number.
Well, you know, in the year 2200, everything will be Chrome.
Will it?
Did you know that?
Oh.
Yeah. Everything's going to be Chrome.
Not Platinum?
In the future, everything's going to be Chrome. Okay. Well, it looks like what we have is the typical nonsense going on. We have a state legislature, a governor that have gotten behind a bill that seems to remove the confusion, and that happens quite often in our system. We get all these different parties that put their noses in the works, and you end up with confusion. And I don't know. You guys up in Michigan, hit me. I know you used to have to get a state pistol permit or a permit from your local, I guess would be the senior law enforcement agent to own or purchase a handgun in Michigan. You guys hit me. Do you still have to do that? Jared, why don't you go ahead and do that real quick? Go to concealed carry laws or CCW laws or what have you, and find out if you still require a permit from the state to buy a handgun in Michigan. I know when you guys want to hear kind of a cool little story. Sure you do. All right. If you know anything about Professor Paul Markel, I was born in Detroit, Michigan. My father was born in Detroit, Michigan. And my father married my mother in Detroit, Michigan. So I have a big history in Detroit. And my maternal grandfather bought a handgun in the late 60s. I think it was 68 or 69. And that gun was since passed down to me. I have that gun, and what he also passed down to me was the little green card, and it was his handgun permit. It was his permission slip to buy a handgun, because way back in the 60s, you had to get a little green card from your local law enforcement agency before you could buy a handgun.
What am I'm looking if you
need a permit to purchase a pistol.
To purchase, not for concealed carry.
To purchase one. Yeah, in Michigan. It was very similar to what you've got going on in New York. I don't know what it is about you New England and northeastern states where you decided that you have to get permission slip from. We know why they did it in North Carolina. And quite frankly, can I be honest with you? The motivation behind having to get a permission slip is generally very, very racist. And if you go back to the origins, when they started requiring people to get permission slips to buy handguns, it was so that a certain class of people, that a certain kind of people would not be allowed because the sheriff had to give them permission. And it was at the discretion of the sheriff to say yes or no. So think about it like this. If you are a racist, if you are a bigot, if you're a person that doesn't want certain people to own handguns, well, what do? You put in place a law that says the sheriff has to give you permission to buy a handgun. And you go to the sheriff and you say, may I? And he says no, and then that's it. So if you're living in a state right now where you have to get permission from the senior law enforcement agent, not to carry, not to possess on your body, which is silliness anyway, but just to actually make the purchase, where you can't buy a handgun because you haven't gotten the permission slip from the senior law enforcement agent, ask yourself, what is the origin of that law? Where did it come from? And if somebody tells you, oh, it's for safety, it's for safety, really? You better check the height of your boots, because if someone's telling you that, oh, well, we just can't let you buy, oh, so I can buy a shotgun, I can buy a rifle, I can buy an AR-15 or an AK variant without a permission slip, but I can't buy a Ruger Mark II until I get a permission slip from the state. So you need to ask yourself that. What is the origin of that? And quite frankly, let's call them out. Let's call it what it is. In North Carolina, when I lived in North Carolina for a short amount of time, I was insulted by the fact that you had to get permission from the sheriff or the chief of police to buy a handgun. And I don't know if it's still like that or not. I don't know if they've gotten smart up in North Carolina and mended it. Maybe they have. Write me a letter. Say, hey, Paul, we've already fixed that. It's no longer in place. We're good to go. All right, rock on. Jared, do you have that information yet?
No, I can't find it. I didn't see anything that stuck out for just purchasing a handgun. Obviously, you have to have the concealed carry license. They call it a CPL, concealed pistol license.
Concealed
in
pistol
Michigan.
license.
I'm
can
still
you conceal
looking.
a revolver? I'm kidding. I keyed. All right. Well, there you have it. Well, Jerry, we talked about Canada. We talked about Michigan. I was thinking that we might want to talk just a little bit about Chicago. Stay up in that geographic area. And we've got a story for you guys from thedailycaller.com. And it says, anti-gun Rahm Emanuel yard sign warns burglar that he has armed Secret Service. Now, hang on a second. We know that Chicago has some of the toughest gun laws in America. We know that Gary the Enforcer thinks that the answer to violent crime is more gun restrictions, that it's more laws. We need more laws. We need more gun control. You know, we haven't had any silly quotes from Gary the Enforcer lately, have we, Jared? I don't know. Maybe he's kept quiet. But yeah, the Chicago mayor, Rahm Emanuel. Gee, how did he become the Chicago mayor? I guess because he played nice for the head community organizer, and that was his reward. Come on, Paul. You're telling me that they fix elections in Chicago and they just that an elite few decide who gets to be the mayor? No, it's a free and open election. Yeah, that's how it happens. That's how it works. The story is written by Patrick Howley, political reporter for thedailycaller.com. It says, Chicago mayor and gun control advocate Rahm Emanuel is protected, easy for me to say, protected in his home at all hours of the day and night by armed policemen, and a sign outside his house warns would-be burglars that armed Secret Service agents are standing guard. It says, after Emanuel's son was robbed outside the mayor's home last weekend, a Fox 32 News report stated that Emanuel, a member of Michael Bloomberg's gun control group Mayors Against Illegal Guns, has 24/7 protection from the Chicago Police Department. Now, hang on a second. It says, it continues, it says, a sign outside the Emanuel home also informs trespassers that the mayor has Secret Service protection. It appears that Emanuel, a former Obama White House chief of staff, still has his sign up outside the house, according to the screenshot that accompanies the story. Well, we thought that you guys would truly appreciate the irony of that. That here you have one of the most notoriously anti-gun mayors in America, or at least one of the top 10, in one of the most anti-gun cities in America, that would be Chicago, who has one of the most anti-gun chiefs of police. No, I'm sorry, he's the police superintendent. Gary, the Enforcer, you don't need to have that gun over there. We need more gun laws. Well, what do we know? And what have we known for a long time, folks? The hypocrisy of the elitist has no bounds. Yeah, you peasant class people don't need to have guns. And guns, according to the Mayors Against Illegal Guns, I still don't know what that is. Well, actually, I do know what that is. That is a lie. What is an illegal gun? It's like an evil gun or a good gun. Guns are inanimate objects. Okay, they can't be evil or good or illegal or not legal, whatever. What do we know about them? Well, first of all, a lot of people that are in the Mayors Against Illegal Guns group from Nanny Bloomberg there, we found out are, let me see, convicted sex offenders, convicted drug offenders, convicted, what did the one guy get convicted of? Corruption, graft, theft in office. Yeah. The Mayors Against Illegal Guns reads like a rogues gallery of who's who in corrupt politicians. But we don't want to bother you with that stuff. All you need to know is that we have more hypocrisy on display. We have somebody who's decided that you, peasant class people, don't need guns, and that guns are not the answer unless, of course, it comes to him and his family. His family deserves to be protected by armed police officers 24 hours a day and armed Secret Service officers 24 hours a day. Hey, if you're listening to me up in the glorious People's Republic of Illinois, I'm curious. Do you have armed Secret Service protecting your home and family 24 hours a day? You don't? Well, why not? Oh, you must be part of the peasant class. You're not part of the ruling elitist class up there in the People's Republic of Illinois. So, folks, next time someone asks you, next time someone says, well, we need more gun control this, we need more restrictions that, say, well, I've got an idea for you. Why don't we start with the people who think it's such a good idea? Maybe the people who think that gun control is such a great idea should live a couple of days without guns protecting them. I know, that's not going to happen. But we can dream, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to dream. Are you with me here, kid?
Yeah, I'm with you.
You're tired, aren't you?
I
need to come up through the glass case. I need to smack you and get you woken up.
Yeah.
He's over there. Folks, I don't know what I'm going to do with the kid. I don't know. All right, folks, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, we truly appreciate you being out there in the Student of the Gun audience. As always, thank you for thanking the people that support us. Thank you to Velocity Triggers, Brownells, Colt at Colt.com, Excess Sights, the fastest sights in any light, and, of course, SWAT Fuel. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, I will see you, I will talk to you tomorrow. Remember, you are a beginner once, but you are a student for life.